Hi, I'm Majestic Rides, and welcome back to the show. Here I have before me a Johnny Lightning Hearse, or a hearse made by Johnny Lightning nonetheless. They used this particular casting in their Ecto 1, or this particular tooling, I should say, and I honestly can't say what more of a morbid toy could a person possibly add to their collection. So I don't really believe this is something children are going to play with, but adults, I see them actually collecting something like this. Here you have before white walls, awesome time period, correct. Trying to avoid the elephant in the room, the curtains around the windows. You most definitely don't want to wind up in the back of one of these in real life, especially if it's this old, because you're probably a ghost and you've died twice. But the 1959 Cadillac Hearse was built and assembled by the Miller Meteor Coach Building Company in Piqua, Ohio. They exclusively built vehicles using the Cadillac platform. The Cadillac name originates from the French trader Antoine Lomet de la Mothe Cadillac, who founded the city of Detroit in 1701. So basically, the gentleman that uh, basically the name Cadillac originates from is the founder of Detroit City in 1701, home of the supercar, muscle car. Yeah, no, we ain't talking about you, Italy, over there with your little fancy supercars. No. Supercars come from America, old school Detroit muscle. That's where the real cars are made. Johnny Lightning recently modified this tooling of the casting in order to finally make the 1959 Cadillac Hearse for the first time. So this is the first time Johnny Lightning has made this into a hearse, and there's very limited amount of these made. So if you're a collector, I'd probably advise you to try to get your hands on one of these for collecting purposes because it's a very low mintage. Very awesome looking piece. Happy to have it in my collection. And now that we're on the subject of Johnny Lightning, let's add a few more. I'm gonna pop open here. The black with flames. This American Rebel. It's a Rebel machine. It's an AMC, and this Tiki, freaky Tiki. 2,000 of these made. 2,500 and no 2,259. I don't know. Got it right in front of me. As you can tell, I'm not a very literary or scholarly type of person. Things right there in front of my face, I probably even misspell it. But nonetheless, I'm going to whoop this out just because it got surfboards on the hood. Let's get a zoom in on it. And there we go. Shaky, shaky, shaky. It's got some flowers all over it. This looks like something a bunch of hippies would drive out to the beach out in Cali. But of course, not right now because they're not really letting them out on the beach. Locked down. But nonetheless, pretty cool looking piece. Very bizarre looking. It's got some engine detail going on. Pretty period correct front end. Of course, Johnny Lightning's done this tooling before. I just think this is a very unique looking piece. There's a version A and a version B. I went with this color. I don't know. I just think it looks crazier. Pretty cool looking piece. Nonetheless, Johnny Lightning makes some interesting pieces. Kind of like Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels is into the making a lot of fantasy cars back in the day. Matchbox was actually more accurate to the detailed model back in the day before Mattel bought them. But nonetheless, pretty cool. Freaky Tiki Surf Shop. Pretty awesome. They probably have this thing sitting out in front of their surf shop if they exist somewhere, knowing Johnny Lightning. What's that say? Tiki Time on the license plate. And here we have a car that needs no introduction anymore. If you've watched the cartoon Cars, this is Hudson, Henry Hudson, or the car that trained the star of Cars. But nonetheless, this one's black with flames. It just looks pretty awesome. Him too does a really nice job also on the Hudson Hornet. But this thing's awesome sauce. Just totally blacked out with them gray flames going down the side. They didn't skip on the detail either. See, it says Hornet right there by the front wheel fender. Front end looks. This thing just. Between this and the Hearse, these two look probably creepy next to each other. But let's get on with it. Here's another oldie. This is classic ornaments. These things you hang on your Christmas tree. It's from the Praying Mantis series. 1980 Chevy Monza Spider. However, Hot Wheels did a Monza with the square body racing thing going on it, and that thing, people were gobbling that thing up like cornflakes. Couldn't get your hands on it. This is also a limited edition. A lot of people aren't into these ornament cars, but there's actually some pretty cool cars in these series. You don't have to use them as an ornament. They also display very nicely. But this Chevy Monza right here is pretty cool looking. I mean, I'm trying to get across the board specific vehicles. Now, of course, that Hudson with the flames ain't something that's very realistic, or should I say, period correct. But nonetheless, it was cool looking, so I just grabbed it. Everybody has their off thing they do. Skipping. That car just jumping. And let's move on. Here's another Johnny Lightning. Probably a car that needs no introduction. Wasn't popular too much back in the day, but nonetheless, this is a 1972 Ford Maverick. Just from the look at it, or the looks of it, as I'm looking at it in the plastic package, the stance doesn't seem to look right. This would look like something someone would do aftermarket, like try to lift the car up, maybe a little in the front, a little in the back for the racing theme. I actually think the car itself sits lower into the wheel. The wheels sit more into the wheel wells, so it will make the car sit a little lower. But nonetheless, this car was not as popular back in the day when it released, but a lot of people had them. This was a very, I guess you could say, affordable car. People were driving this around in the 80s. It's like an old clunker. Every other person had one of these at some point in your neighborhood. But it's pretty bad. Pretty awesome car. Really is. Yeah. American made. Yeah. It's got some weird looking detail going on there. And here, the AMC. This is a company not too many people were familiar with. They were a car manufacturer. They made the Javelin, the Pacer, and of course this, the Rebel Machine. The white one on the background, I don't get it. Some guy was trying to sell one, but I'm talking about the actual toy for like $200 and something. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. Like, it's not even a $3 toy, man. I actually found the white one somewhere else. I don't know why anybody would pay it. I think people just sometimes stamp a price on something and they think it values whatever they stamp on it. It makes no sense. But nonetheless, let's get a better look at this thing. Very nice detail going on. Yeah, kind of reminds me the rear bumper and the lights and stuff on it remind me of an old Chrysler, sort of. Maybe even a Ford. Looks really nice though. It's a very unique looking car. I give it credit where credit is due. Front end's interesting looking. I'm sure it's spot on. Very minimum detail on the bottom. Knocking over that Marauder. Nonetheless, that's the Johnny Lightning Show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.